Give me 1 sec. Let me make my bed so it looks nice.
What is even wrong with him? It's the idea he wouldn't just do it in his own life if that was so important. He just does it for vanity.
I can already tell you said something fucking dumb without even fucking having the headset on.
Right. This is going to be episode 60 of Listen Local. Pretty good amount. We've done fucking a lot of episodes now.
Yeah.
Working our way up there. And Loco tried to sell everyone on Twitter that like, oh, there's so much we could discuss. And I was thinking, really? And we already had like multiple people from G2 on the show. We even had someone on the show from G2, just an episode recently talking about MSI. So if you've got loads to talk about, Loco, I'm very interested. I want to know what topics you're going to come up with that are
You're the
just
host.
same exact topics.
Last time
Oh, my mistake. Right, sorry, guys. Sorry, I forgot the order of things again. I forgot. Welcome to another episode of Listen to Thorin Interview a Player, a show in which Locodoco sits in the background and listens to Thorin interview a player, and then somehow gets the ad rev for that interview on his channel. So
every day,
and
every single fucking day, it's like this.
To be fair, you know, you did spend a lot of time elsewhere in your career taking a lot of credit for things that other people did, but enough about your time as coach TSM. So we're into the show. TSM, that's way in the past right now. They don't even make it to a national competition anymore. So anyway, Perkz, right, I've got a question for you. What do you think actually would have happened? No one's asked you this question, right? What would have happened if G2 had lost that game 4 against SK Telecom? You know, the one where they were like, they could, you know, both teams had chances to win that game. It was a close one. You had to battle back into it. What would happen if G2 had lost in the semis? Would this have affected how you guys think now? Would it have rocked you?
I don't think it would change much for like the grand scheme of things, because our goal still is like on the long term and long-term building, and the fact that we managed to win the first tournament we played together internationally is just like a huge kind of like a sign of good faith, you know, for the future, because like everything was going like kind of against us this split, and we still managed to win. So it's just, like just thinking about it is like quite insane, right? But yeah, if we lost game 4, then we would just lose 1-3 to SKT, and that would be it, yeah.
Because one of the things that I think people were very impressed by was when they heard some of the voice comms that came out after the MSI, and in these games during the series against SK Telecom, your team actually seemed legitimately upbeat. Like people were, you know, they were joking around. It didn't seem as well. Like I've heard players where they try and fake the hype, you know, like pretend like they're confident. That sounded like people actually were somewhat comfortable. Now you've been in situations in the past. Like I remember the MSI final you were in with G2 where nothing was working. They were just winning no matter what. Like, was there something different about the atmosphere now in G2?
It's definitely different now than it was back then. I feel like back then players didn't really believe that we would actually be better than enemies, like let's say Koreans or something in general. I think a lot has changed since. I feel like I become a so much better player since then, and also my teammates are all on a kind of a different level, because we just think that we can win against whoever we play, and I feel very comfortable myself, like to win against whoever I play. And I don't think in 2017 was like, oh shit, it's SKT, you know, let's just make them sweat for it. Let's hope we can win, you know. But
try
this
to win
time
a
around,
game.
yeah, but this time around it's just different feeling, right? We feel like we are the ones who need to be beaten, right, and rather than the SKT part, and that's just the crazy feeling, yeah.
Did you guys feel that way before you guys played them in the best of 5, or like even before the groups happened, like at the start of the tournament?
I felt this way the whole tournament. I felt that we are the team to beat, not anyone else. I mean, obviously I wanted to beat IG just because I have a really bad record against them. So it would kind of mean something. Like when you lose a lot to a team, like it means something, you know. And I was like 1-7 against SKT prior to this event. This event I went like 5-2, so I really boosted my record right now. So I just need the worlds again to actually equal it up, you know, because I'm in big depth to SKT. But yeah, back to your point, like what would happen is like we kind of were back to the point of being confident. We were confident because we kind of knew what's wrong, right? So we knew that game 3 when we lost because we gave them Silas and strong jungler. So the snowball of that, but that is our strategy, right? And we just kind of I don't know if we disrespected them or we did something that we shouldn't do, but we said like, oh yeah, they have this Azir specialty, but we think it's bad because Azir is kind of late game champ, right? And then we pick the same champ in our game, right? So it doesn't make sense that we want to counter their strategy by using same what we said it was bad. Like if we said that's bad, we should not do that, right? And then we get in Salas for free, like basically, and then the next game I knew on blue side like we're gonna get OP champion, no matter what, because that's how the draft works. You get an OP champion, and I'm really confident that Caps will perform on whatever OP champ like he gets, and he did, and he played really fucking good, right? And then we already knew that game 5 we were gonna throw them off, and just pick a mage, and then we drafted on that, and yeah, it was pretty well executed by us. I think the drafts, like just the preparation in general.
Okay. Because the thing is, like, the reason I asked that question, which to fans might sound weird, because obviously you won that series and in fact won the whole tournament and it looked great when you did, is like on the last episode, right, Loco was bemoaning with Raz the fact that like Korea isn't as powerful as it once was, and what's going wrong, and the expectation should be that they should be still the best or challenging for the championship. And even though I know what he means, like in context, yeah, Korea's level is low because they're down with everyone else now. But I look at that SK Telecom team there, and if you consider how they started the tournament, where they looked like they had no clue what the meta was whatsoever, they looked pretty good by the time they were playing you guys. Like, did you actually think it was possible they could have beaten you?
I mean, I think it was definitely possible, right? It's not like we were like clear favorites. I thought they were a good team, but in the same time, it's like I also knew we were a good team. So it's like as long as I knew they were a good team, this time around, I actually have faith more in us, than enemy team bigger than us, Like against IG, I would think like, okay, maybe it would be a close series, because we have like better record against them, right? Like 0-5, But against SKT, we already won twice, And even against IG, it's fine because we got some scream confidence, So
okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of SKT's playstyle and approach to the game for the whole tournament? It was very teamfight based and very bot lane based.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much how the meta kind of is or was, right? Whereas like it's important that you get a strong mid and bot, and I feel like in our games in groups they were like not even drafting to win bot. They played like Ezra Nautilus, and then they played like we played Zarakan, they played Ezra Nautilus, and they played like Braum MF against Ash Varus, and they just picked MF because it was like such a trash pick because they had like I think we had Jarvan and Pyke and Varus, like all the champs are good against MF, I think, and they picked that, so they had like their both drafts. So I knew they're gonna be a harder opponent in best of 5 just because they were gonna fix the draft at least for that, right? For the reason. So, but pretty much most of the teams were drafting like the NMS, where there's like just strong, like we realized at some point in the tournament, like day 4 I think, we realized like, yeah, there's a lot of brawl, and brawling is good, so maybe we should just start brawling as well. And then we started like picking more brawly comps as well, and yeah, it's pretty good.
That's a topic, Loco, that we could discuss that we didn't do in the Raz episode. Because the thing is, like, when you're discussing, like, why is any region better or worse now, there's all this, like, context of the current moment that you have to fit in. And one thing we never discussed, actually, is another thing is, if you go back to when Koreans were at their best, it's when the draft was way more streamlined. Like, people had a much better sense of what you're going to first pick, what comps you're heading towards. There was much, much more limited champions in, like, top lane, for example. Like, even sometimes, like, jungle might only be 3 or 4 champions. So, like, if you look now, though, I mean, probably the draft that shows this the most is actually the one, game 1, where you guys ended up picking Sona Taric. Because in that draft, I can't remember who it was we were talking to, they basically said, like, the whole point, maybe it was when I was doing my Elitist United show, they even said they couldn't entirely blame you for that draft, because that's one of those ones where it's like neither team actually can know 100% at the beginning of the draft that they're going to pick Sona Taric. Like, you have to sort of like you discover it partway through the draft, and even then, like, there's a chance where they can take it before you, but if they don't take it, then you have an option to take it last, basically. So in that kind of a world, if I'm the Koreans, it's way harder to predict what your opponent's going to pick. Like, they're going to have a lot tougher time in that sense as well. Not just that they haven't played the opponent. Like, you saw a lot of drafts here that went completely opposite direction, even the team that ended up getting the better side of it necessarily thought. What do you think on this topic?
Well, I definitely agree with you. That's, I think, a big part why Korea was so good before, because I think they're just like super well coached, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense in terms of like when it was like jungle wars meta, they knew exactly how to play macro. Like, they were the best macro region in the world, right? That's why they were winning everything, because you could not predict. You could literally see every movement on the map if you play better than enemies, and you could just play by pushing waves and pulling wards down. And this is how they would win games. This is how every Korean team would win, because they're better than you. But when this changes, and the game becomes more of like instinct kill based in game, and like more about setup, like raw mechanics and mechanical outplay, like in skirmishes or general team fights, then it's like there's still setups and there's still like macro, but it's just different. And it's like more it's still more raw, you know, it's just more raw than it was before. And that's, I guess, big reason. And also why what you mentioned about draft is like Koreans are very good at like certain matchups that they know how to play. But even they in that matchups, they're like not insane or something. Like, for example, I played a Varus Braum matchup versus their Ashe Tam, and I was literally like, this is my maybe like second or third time I played this matchup in my life. But this matchup was meta for like 5 seasons in a row, or not 5, but like let's say 3 or 4 seasons in a row. And it's not like they did anything special or anything great or anything good in these matchups either, you know. So it's just, it doesn't really feel like they have, because they don't try new champs as well. On at least like I'm speaking from my perspective, right, on both sides, you know. So yeah, I think if anything, like I think Griffin will be very surprising to see roles, just from the way they're open. They seem to be more open-minded than other LCK teams. They like try a lot of stuff, bot, and not just bot, like in general about draft. So
it's hard to
look forward to seeing them.
Well, regarding what Perkz says, like Koreans are really good when the rules are set and when the structure is set, and just get good at this. But right now, there's a lot of creativity in League of Legends, especially regarding bot lane picks and especially regarding flex picks. And when you throw something at them, they really don't know how to handle. Like, that's where Koreans crumble. I think that's kind of what happens with like Sonateric, where they must have played versus Sonateric in scrims and lost a lot, because
they won against us, right? But I do agree that we really ran it down that game, because that draft, for example, I even think that answer, their answer to Sonateric was, in my opinion, horrible.
Israel Karma.
They drafted with the purpose of doing it, but it was actually really bad, right? That's what I think. And if we just didn't run it down, like if we ran down a little bit less in early game, like all of us, then the game would be really, really free. But yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so they don't understand like the new concepts that are brought into League of Legends, and that's where I think Korea is suffering the most. Like, Koreans were good when things were very simple, when things were very streamlined, and you knew what you were going to get. But now that it's a more open-ended door, and they still are playing in a very streamlined way, like they're suffering a lot. I even
feel like that even helps stylistically for European teams, because like, I don't know what Perkz thinks on this, but I often say to Loco, right, if someone only has a background in American sports, even the American sports that have a lot of like free-form play where you're doing things you don't necessarily plan for, like basketball is a good example. Even then, in those sports, you have lots of timeouts. Like, you could still, if you don't like the way your team's playing, like take a timeout, tell them to change something up, you know. European sports, I was telling Loco this before, like, you don't have timeouts like that in football, you know, like you just play for 45 minutes. Like in European sports, it's a lot more about like how the players in the moment want to play the game. Like you're really creating the match as you play it. That's actually why it's so difficult when people analyze tactics in football to know how two teams will match up and who will win, etc. Because it's not like it's divided up. Like, you can't just look at this minute 1 of the game and then know what's going to happen at minute 6. It's like, it's a different approach. And League feels like that to me at the moment with all this skirmishing. It's like, you can't know in advance how, like, what fight you're going to get at what point of the game and what's going to happen. So your decision making's either just got to be like flawless, or you just got to have a great intuition for what you want to do in the game, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting way you put it. I think you're kind of right as well. It definitely feels like that. So yeah, I didn't really know this about basketball.
How do you guys practice the shit you try to do in the game?
How do we practice what?
Like if you come in, for example, when you were going to play SK Telecom, what do you even have prepped for a series like that?
Oh, for example,
just as an example,
yeah,
what do you do nowadays?
We just, for example, how we thought for SKT was, they're probably gonna ban Sonateric, and if they don't, we just pick it because we think it's kind of strong, right? It's kind of OP, but we haven't really practiced it, you know, because it's been perma-banned the whole tournament against us, and we banned against Team Liquid, right? So the first we thought was, yeah, okay. Then we got that and we lost, and the conversation was kind of, should we do it again or should we not? And I was personally fine with it, but I was also thinking, what if we end up losing the Sonateric again because we haven't practiced it at all? And then we are in a situation where Fnatic against Origin was, where they're like 0-2 down in Sona Taric, and it makes a series a lot harder, you know? And it's like, not SKT is like another team that's easy to reverse it, you know? So we just decided, okay, we lost, let's go for Standard. We can beat them in Standard. And then we just went on with Standard with what we thought was good, was, for example, like when we picked Morgana Draven into Zyra Khan, you know? Because Rakan was higher priority roles, MSI. Not really for everyone, but like for G2 and IG, right? Okay. And then to like not go into details with like rest of the draft, we just picked whatever we thought was strongest for our early game to, because basically whoever won early game won the game, right? And like anyways, so yeah.
Was that actually something then going in that you also consciously were thinking like we have to accelerate the game, you know, stylistically against them?
Not really. I didn't really think about accelerating the game at all. I was not afraid of getting outscaled or just losing the game at any point. I do feel like the game 4 against them, we were making wrong decisions of just running it down mid. When we have like Ryze and I don't know, Gnar, and we just kept going mid for mid turret because we wanted to break the mid turret anyways. And but they kept getting like some good fights, like Faker, Sylas, etc. Mostly Faker, Sylas actually. They kept getting good fights, and then the game got a bit messy. But that's just because of wrong approach to the game. We had like a wrong approach to the game. But other than that, I think all of us had this realization for playoffs, where after we lost, like even though we lose the games that didn't matter at the end, we still took them serious, you know? We still, like I said, for example, I'm not playing Ezreal anymore because this champ loses lane, and if you risk losing lane, and in this meta where it's like really snowball heavy, because we played the game against Team Liquid, right? Where my mid jungle running down, and we could not play the game because enemy jungle was too good. But anyways, they had like winning bot matchup as well. So we all figured out. I think three of us decided, in 3 lanes decided, we're just gonna try to pick winning lanes and just snowball of that, you know. And that was kind of our theory: pick the strongest lanes, which makes sense in this meta, right? So it worked out.
So one thing I thought that would be an interesting topic to go into is, with all the other guests we've had on the show, we actually haven't had much discussion with anyone who's an ADC player. Like, we haven't had many of them on the show, actually, if you notice, Loco. So can you actually just give us the basic gist, Loco, of that? Right? Do you remember, I think it was like the first episode we did on MSI, where you were giving your theory as to why like ADC has less agency in the game because of like the champions that are played in top and mid. So can you restate like the rough premise of that so Perkz can hear it?
Sure. So about a year or 2 ago, there weren't champions like reworked Irelia, Sylas, reworked Akali, like these champions that are very, very low cooldown, and also there wasn't
Aatrox maybe.
Yeah, Aatrox, and there wasn't like Essence Reaver or Sylvan Spear, these tools that gave these champion extremely low cooldown. So old AD carry used to be if you dodge someone's gap closer with your flash or your dash, like they'd be vulnerable.
Fight, he means.
Yeah, they would be vulnerable and you'd be able to outplay them. But now I feel like that's not really true for AD carry. Like for AD carry now, it's extremely hard to carry a team fight because everyone has such little cooldown and they're not very ultimate based. So even it's just really hard to outplay stuff as AD carry as it was before, where if you dodge certain skill shots, if you dodge certain gap closers, you'd be able to carry a team fight and the bruisers would be vulnerable. But that changed so much now. And as an AD carry player, even when you get into mid and late game, I feel like you're nowhere near strong as you used to be.
I mean, there's definitely some truth to it. Whereas you're right, the top lane million champions are really, really broken. And now I get the other end of it, right? You know, and now
exactly. You're the ADC player now. So he's trying not to complain. You know, he's experiences too much himself when mid lane was too good.
But the champs are really broken. And honestly, the champs are really OP, right? But I cannot disagree with the fact that AD carry is useless because I see a lot of people complain and whine about how AD is useless. But the fact is, when I play AD in solo queue, I feel like I'm strong. In some games, are lost, right? You know, but I feel like I can actually do a lot, you know. And there is just difference in players who are good and players who are bad. So players who know how to play against the meta champions, which sometimes you don't really have much outplay potential, right? But a lot of times when you think you don't, you actually still do. But you just don't know the cooldowns perfectly because they are lower cooldown champions like Akali, Sylas, and stuff. But if you know how to actually play those, then you know how to play against them as well, right? So I think that's basically what AD carries players usually lack as well. In general, is just knowledge of what other champions do in the game, not just their own role or their own lane. That's just my take on it. Because even when I was playing mid, I would feel like, oh, it's so much easier to outplay an AD carry main than a mid laner in teamfight, right? So you just I remember I was playing with Zoe, and Zoe I would always aim my Q on enemy AD, like always, and I would always land. It's like I had aimbot, you know. It would be like it would be impossible to even miss it, you know. But if you aim it on mid laner, he might dodge it, you know, because you know how the champ actually works. That's just like a small sentiment of what it could actually mean when you're playing AD. And it's also the late games are going less late game, so you don't really get this like 4 or 5 items where you're like strong and you like 3-shot everyone. But I do feel like the bot lane has changed in a way where if you're actually open-minded and good at the game, you can realize how to impact the game before those items kick. Like that's why I really enjoy playing like champions like Varus and Kalista that have like ults that are actually playmaking, right? Because I feel like I'm really powerful with those champions. I feel like I can make the difference and I can move on the map where I have to be. Like swaps are very important, you know, getting Herald, tempo on Drake. Just like thinking about good macro and roaming in general is more important than like farming for items right now. And that's what people don't really realize is that the game has changed. So if you want to be an AD carry, that's gonna go zero deaths, but it's gonna have like some farm, but no damage output at all. He's gonna be pushing minions, and you can do that as well, you know. But it's like it just depends what kind of player do you want to be. Do you want to try to win the game, or do you want to try to do nothing in the game because enemy champions are too OP?
Sure. That's kind of where the Korean AD carries are at, like players like Teddy and Ruler, where I feel like they lane well, but they don't really put on pressure, and they're not very playmaking heavy, and they're just scaling up to team fights.
But I mean that I can't really comment or like argue with that because like I don't really know what culture inside their team. Maybe they get told, you know, you're supposed to just not die, or maybe this is it, you know. Maybe I just in general don't think that like now that you mentioned Teddy, I think he's a good player. He's a very good player, but I just don't think him and Mata do anything in the games. Because I was reading comments before the tournament, and I was reading, Teddy and Mata double with Koji against Perkz and Mickey. Yeah, what a mismatch, XD, you know. But in reality, like if you take 7 games we played against SKT Botlane, I don't even think we got like outperformed by the Botlane one game. You know, maybe the game we played Sona Target and running down, yeah, sure. But the games, every other game we play, we're either winning lane or doing more than them in like after lane as well. So it's just the whole sentiment of like these big names, you know, always gets overblown than rather than just like.
Do you think that a team like SKT, where as you're saying, obviously they were hyped as having like arguably best bot lane in the world, maybe even, you know, but obviously in this tournament particularly because so many of the good teams like IG doesn't really play all the time through their bot lane. Could SKT actually have played through bot and won this tournament? Like, would that have been a viable style? Do you think it's possible?
Well,
does it work in this map?
I mean, it works, you know, but it's like they were kind of, I mean, they were not, but they were kind of also trying to, I mean, like the games they won through bot lane, right? The first game they played, I mean, this one game they played against Sona Tarek and then won, and the other game they played like when the enemy had Rek'Sai was Smurf, right? But the game also they played like mid jungle priority into bot, right? So it's like how we won all our games was like mid jungle into bot. Like the only 2 games we won like through top was because that's not even the meta, you know, but it was like when we were playing Jace top and enemy was playing Jace. So mid jungle was taking care of top because it's Jace. So if enemy has Jace, you want to not let him snowball. And if you have Jace, you want to snowball, right? So those 2 games against SKT, I felt like we were going top, but every other game we were just going bot, right? Because that's how the meta is, you know? Just better bot, mid jungle will win in the end.
You have to realize, Loco, the problem in this whole scenario here, right, is there's 2 factors at play. One is because Perkz directly got Caps to replace him, he gets to live vicariously through Caps. So as long as like G2 wins the game, he can sort of be like, that's my boy. I made that happen. Yeah. So he doesn't even need to carry the game. So first of all, he's not complaining as much as ADC should be right now. And then secondly, like an absolute rat. Think of every past argument between top, mid, and ADC, right? Where obviously all ADCs are whining quite a lot. Top was at certain points in time with tank, etc. But the difference is, in those scenarios, if we're talking about a Forgiven, a Freeze, the sort of person who might complain who's ADC, they didn't have Caps and Wonder in the other lanes. Like, it must be nice playing that game, like where you can just win sometimes and you're just chilling.
It's a fair point, you know. Like I'm not. I get this told by upsets, you know, a lot. Like
exactly, yes. The guy who got a pentakill and lost the game.
Yeah,
that's what his life's like.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that point. Yeah.
Also, the other thing is, whenever Perkz feel like AD carry is really fucking shit, he'll just play mages bot lane. Mages or bruisers.
I have a way out, you know. Like everyone else is in a jail, but I'm free to do whatever the fuck I want. I can just play Yasuo if I think the AD carries suck, but I need the AD damage, you know. So
exactly, he can get out of jail anytime. Reckless actually isn't in jail; he's in a gated community. Like he just chooses not to play and have other people play for him and still win the league anyway. You know, like there's a difference. You see the distinction there, guys. Like one person was in jail, the other person.
Yeah, he was also on the cup strain, you know. He could just take it like so maybe I can just take a split off and just come back from playoff and maybe we win, you know. I will actually try the summer split and there will be like a YouTube video. He took the split off and he came back and did this.
Here's the move. Are you ready, Perkz? Anytime you want a game off, just have Promiscu play Sona Taric.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm out. That's it. There you go. There's the dream bot lane. And by the way, imagine how much that bot lane would rage people out. Just like Promiscu playing 4 ADC with a guy with busted wrist. Like that would be the top bot lane to lose to in Europe for sure.
Pretty much, yeah.
By the way, you know, obviously Mickey said this thing that he was fine during the actual tournament, but does he actually still have like a serious issue going onwards? Like, is he going to have to, you know, take breaks during the split or something? Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, I have no idea. Mickey, how is your wrist?
Fine.
He says it's fine. So I think he came today to the house. He came today to the house. Then, yeah. He came to keep me company. So he says his wrist is fine.
He's playing some Yumi. I can just AFK anyway.
Yeah, he's playing Yumi, so he can AFK anyways in case he gets 7.
There we go. There we go. That's who they invented the champion for, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
Speaking of...
Or Mickey X the Broken.
Speaking of like the old school AD carries we talked about a little, Reckless, Double F, Teddy, I feel like you performed better than any of them internationally at MSI. Did you have that feeling before going into MSI that you'd be better? Like you never played versus like Teddy, Double F. You were #1 in Europe, but you like these are legendary figures in esports and in League of Legends. Like you felt like I switched roles, I practice for about a split, I'm splitting time with Promiscu for my support. You felt like you were gonna beat them before the tournament even happened. Like you weren't scared at all.
I thought if you are playing with Promiscu, I'm gonna beat them anyways. I honestly felt very comfortable going to this tournament. I mean, at some point I was like hinting a bit, so I was like losing a bit of confidence because I was like, I didn't really know why I was doing mistakes that I was doing. But before the tournament, I would be confident even if I played with Promiscu on stage because our scrims in general were winning lane a lot of games where I would feel just comfortable playing on stage even with him, you know. So I don't really have this like thoughts or in my mind that like, oh wow, he's a legendary player or he's a great AD carry, you know, he's mained for so long and I'm just not good enough, you know. I think more like, yeah, he's a good player, but I used to play mid and that's where the shit goes down, you know, in the mid lane, not really in the bot lane. So I felt very comfortable just bringing the mid lane cocky movement down the bot lane.
Do you think other mid laners?
Though, to be fair, like it was actually way better in your era, even for mid lane though. Like you weren't playing mid lane and then at like level 3, knowing like the support and the jungle's just coming in on you if you step forwards. Like you used to play in the old days where you could just lane.
Yeah, it's true.
It's hard, it's rough for mid laners now. As soon as that support goes AFK, as soon as they go MIA, you know they're just waiting to come in on you with some mad flash.
Do you think other mid lane? Do you think other mid laners would have the same kind of success if they swapped, or is this something like a unique talent you have, or do you think mid lane inherently is much more difficult and a complicated role? So if other people swap, they'd be successful too.
Honestly, a lot of questions, good ones. I don't really know how to answer all of them because I didn't really. Okay, first of all, I feel like I don't really know, but in West, I feel like the only player who could do this is like Caps because I think he has like the skill and the drive to become good enough on the role if he was to roll stuff. Like
he even said on our show, like he claimed that when you first asked him to come to G2, he thought that you actually wanted for both of you to take turns at ADC. He said that on the show at least.
Oh, I mean, I don't know about that, right? I always thought AD because I was like, I don't want to see Caps play AD, you know. But I think he can do it, right? And we were like joking. We were joking a bit, like, yeah. So if you win both splits, MSI and Worlds, maybe next year I go mid and you go AD. He's like, yeah, let's do that, you know. And now we are halfway there. So maybe next year you never know what happens, right? Maybe he wants to play AD and I go back mid, but he you have to see first. You know, I don't want to jump to conclusions right now.
He does like challenges. He does say he likes challenges. So
yeah,
I mean, based on his track record in his career, he would actually do that, like win worlds and then just roll swap and then just make life harder for himself. Fair enough.
Yeah, that was actually my plan. Like last year when we like won against RNG, I thought, holy shit, maybe if I just win worlds now, I can just go another role and maybe try again, you know. And then I didn't win
by
it.
the way, since you brought this up, I should probably mention this because I mentioned this once on a show. I forget which show it was. It might have been the EU one I do. I don't know if I told you this story, Loco, where when G2 beat RNG, because I personally thought RNG was going to win that tournament. Like I thought they looked like unbeatable.
I remember this.
Yeah, they made some mistakes. I've told this story, Perkz, that I didn't say what I said within it, but I told them that I sent you like a DM, and because I was getting super into it, right? I was like, fuck, if they can actually beat RNG, anything's possible, isn't it, man? And then because I've always told people this, that the one role in the West that will always be as good as Asians is EU mid laner. Like if you just look in all of history, it's
EU
fact.
mid.
I mean, if anything, Loco, 2 EU mid laners won the fucking MSI, so we don't even need an I was doubly right. I didn't even know how right I was. But anyway, because I was thinking, well, if their team can beat RNG, IG isn't actually even as good a team, like in theory they weren't at that point. And what's IG's main strength? They're solo learners. Well, who have they got on G2? That's G2's strength. They've got Wonder and Cap.
Yeah,
so I sent Perkz this message where I gave him like the ultimate like fucking locker room speech. It was like, you know, like you are an EU mid laner, you know, you can stand against these guys. Like who gives a fuck if these guys think they're gods, these Koreans, like they all still bleed. It's like the most, I went like fully epic, right? And then the joke part is, this is what I told everyone, Perkz, that you did say like, okay, I got this. And then obviously, like, he just got these emotes. It's like, even I was like, yikes. Oh, I don't know if I should have sent that message now.
You were 6 months too early.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, we were good, but, you know, they had, like, Rookie in the try, so...
Sure, yeah, indeed, yeah. Well, I learned that actually, it turns out actually some of them are gods, those Korean players. My mistake, Rookie. I apologize for thinking you were just a player. You're actually a pretty good player.
Oh, could you mention, what is it? Like this G2 Griffin alliance from, I see it in like the YouTube videos and from Carlos and the Griffin CEO interactions. Did you guys scrim them a lot in Korea?
No, we did not scrim them. They just lost, right? So they had like time off. And when we were there, like it was literally like after the finals, right? So we didn't really scrim them yet. Because
me and Thorin always talk about like, oh, what if another team went for MSI for different regions? What do you think would have happened if Griffin went for MSI? Do you think they were more suited for the meta, and do you think they would have done better than SKT?
Well, it's again really hard to say because, for example, Griffin looked really, really insane, and both times they were in finals, they just looked very weak, right? Or like they kind of just didn't do anything. Especially these finals, it felt like after the first game, it felt like they were just done. Like the first game they lost, it felt like they were just done, and like for example, Choi was playing really bad. So I think that mid jungle is very important, and if like you don't tend to perform under pressure, then you're not gonna be able to perform internationally either, you know. But I do definitely think Griffin, from watching them like in the split, they just look really good, and I would love to see that team at the Worlds, you know, because I do think they can. Like I still think Korea as a region, like as a region, is better than EU as a region. Like as a just it's like 10 teams if you take all.
There's the headline. There's the headline, Loco. That's the headline.
Here we have the headline, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go. Write that down.
That's what I always said though. Remember, Thorin, I said this before, where even if G2 wins MSI, I still don't think it makes Europe stronger as a region than
Obviously
Korea.
Not. That's why actually Worlds as a premise, what's stupid is Worlds the tournament would be the best way to decide it because we send 3 teams each, but people are so stupid. They still use that same logic even at Worlds. So for example, like NA fans, I can't even, like literally my brain will start to melt if I try to think of an NA fan who isn't even a Cloud9 fan, but was trying to use Cloud9 coming top 4 to mean that their team and region's really good when the best team in their region was the one that went out in groups. Like I can't even, like I tried processing that and it's at the end of my brain's like running out my ears. Like what even is that? Like, no, you should, logically what you should probably do, and even this isn't that scientific, is take all 3 of the teams that go and average their placing and see who has the highest placing. It wouldn't work perfectly because obviously, you know, bracket draw, etc. Like for example, the 2 Chinese teams couldn't have made Worlds finals. They were on the same side of the bracket pretty much, you know, like stuff like that would happen. But I agree, it's kind of whack to just like bandwagon the one team that's doing well from your region. Like it should be as a whole. Come on. Like I could be silly if like Vietnam, imagine some team who isn't PVB talking mad shit to G2 now, like, what up, bitch? Vietnam owns your ass, boy. 2-0. You can't even touch us. It's like, you weren't even in that game. Never mind. Vietnam, homie. VN, what up? Like, that wouldn't even work, would it? But that's what everyone's in the West's doing, isn't it? Because now everyone all of a sudden is like, we're better than the Korea. It's like, G2 was better than SKT some of the time. That's all we know so far.
It was close.
What about the other bots, though? Because let's ask about some of the other bot lanes. Obviously, you never got to play IG in the final, so we only have the group stage games. But what do you think of the Invictus Gaming bot lane? Because it's very an interesting bot, because I actually got to discuss this many times during the tournament, because what's interesting is there's so much emphasis, obviously, upon their solo laners in the jungle, and when they stomp people, the bot lane sometimes doesn't even have to get involved. Like, they just win the game before it comes to that. So what do you make of Jackie Love and Baolan?
From the bot lanes we played, I think that IG bot lane was the best, because both time we played winning matchups, and I felt like they were doing as much as they could in a losing matchup, where some others would just kind of like FF it more in a way, some way or another, and they were like doing as much as they could, and they were like playing well with the jungler as well. So I definitely thought, and also just from looking, if you just look at Jackie Love's performance on his own, like I would say he was the best performer in the IG, like by far. Like he was playing in the games because he was just doing his job, you know. Like he was in the games that the team was stomping. He was like farming up, and he was like playing well from the like behind, you know. And the games that he was like losing, he was the best performing player as well. So it just like felt like he was doing very good job of an AD carry role, right? You know, he was just doing. I think he plays really well, because he tries to play aggressive, and he like makes difference in games compared to like other players at this tournament. Where I felt like Jackie Love was just the most impactful. But even like him like has his own flaws, like where he like doesn't really play too many champions, or didn't seem like it this tournament, and he like really defaults to Kai'Sa, even though Kai'Sa was like the lowest champion. So there's like lowest winner champion in the tournament, right? So there's like a lot of factors that you have to take into account. And on top of that, I think Baolan played really bad in the semifinals against Team Liquid.
Yeah.
So as a bot lane, it just like downgraded from that point onward, you know. But they might as well have won that semis and maybe win us since finals, and they will be regarded as by far the best bot lane in the world, you know. So it's like it's just it's weird to say.
Well, obviously, what about Doublelift Core, JJ? How'd you feel about their bot lane?
Second, top 2 bot lane in the world according to Case or whatever.
Yeah.
Or was it just at the tournament, whichever one it was?
Well, they were the best or second best bot lane in the tournament. They were the second best, you know. I mean, seriously though, I think they are good, right? Because they're just smart. I think they play well, like how they're supposed to play with the jungler, and they know like when any bot lane tempo, they know how to play like general macro, right? But I feel like their 2v2 laning skills, like as a duo, is not that great. I feel like they can be better there, and also I didn't really see them perform too well on champions. They were like not Galio Kai'Sa together, and they also have like the same. How I felt was that like Doublelift plays Kai'Sa and he plays Varus, and he doesn't really play anything else. But it was like partially a big champion pool. But for example, like I feel like Zyra account was very important, and they were not playing it, you know, and some other champions as well, you know. So it's hard to say if
they definitely went to Kai'Sa way too much as well. They're another team who did that. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because I was playing low Kai'Sa in solo queue and in scrims as well. But I always thought that this champ is just a solo queue / scrim champ, because if you do get a kill, like if you do get a kill randomly, like with your ult, you can join a lot of fights. That's why I think it was really good champ for IG, for example, because IG top set is so aggressive and proactive. They're really good, so they will like force a fight. And IG and Jackie can just join the fight, and then he can pick up kills. And this is how he actually got fed against us as well. Like when he was playing, when we were playing like Tam Varus. And in general, it's good champ for solo queue and for scrims because of that reason. But on stage, if you're playing against the Varus and you're like just supposed to slowly lose lane, and Varus has ult and he has proactivity that you can never have, and you don't even outscale Varus. Like Kai'Sa does not outscale Varus. You know, that's like a theory that people have, but it's not true. You know, like Varus is just better even after lane. In a certain situation, like if you have like Akali and Lissandra with Kai'Sa diving the Varus, then the Kai'Sa is going to be better, right? But it's like, depending on the game, I would rather take Varus over Kai'Sa in most of the games, right? So, yeah, I think just general, I didn't really feel like I kind of knew what they were going to play. Actually, fun fact is, we also played like 2v2 matchups before they played Team Liquid. No, before they played IG against Steel Botlane. We played like for 1.5 hours or something. and they were pretty good practice, you know, like we practice, they practice, you know, so we got like some all-ins, you know, and we talked a bit about Botland, because like we thought, like, no, there's no way we meet Team Liquid in the final, right? There's like might as well just give them one last, you know. and then they ended up getting into finals, and they were like, oh, but we just shared all our Botland information with them, you know. They're like, yeah, we're gonna pick Mage if this happens, you know, blah blah. And then we played them in the final day after that. That was kind of funny, but yeah, you know, then that's.
But luckily, lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, so no problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
turned out the team that played IG never turned up to the final. That must have been actually disappointing though, because even though it's funny to win really quickly and all the rest of it, like think about all your past of your career, like when you played SKT in that MSI final, and like I remember you were playing really well mid, but like the team obviously wasn't good enough to win the actual series. Like if you imagine yourself winning basically like a world championship in the movie version in your brain, it's going to be like an amazing. It'd be like the semi-final against SKT, you know, it'd go all 5 games, maybe you come back, you win some like heroic game. You don't think of just 3-0ing and like not even looking competitive.
Yeah,
that's kind of a bit wacky and weird.
I mean that's for sure true. Yeah, like you don't really. We would expect like, oh, like we are at MSI, you know, we go IG final and we win like 3-1 or something, like just one game drop, you know. And then because even if you win, like let's say if you win 3-0 against IG or something, it still feels better than winning 3-0 against Team Liquid, right? Because then you actually, I mean, this sounds kind of bad, right? But it's just true, you know. Like if you win 3-0 against someone who's considered stronger, then it feels better, and then you're like, oh wow, we're really insane, you know. But against Team Liquid, it's like I don't want to shit on them too much because I feel like people already shit on them enough. But like the drafts were just like really lost, you know. I really didn't think the games were playable for them in draft. I think game 2 was the most playable in draft, but even that game, I feel like we had better draft, right? So I feel like every game, they just got the worst end of it because of our champion pools, and that's not even if they're like they can be as good players as I don't know, if it's like IG playing with these drafts, they will get stomped. That's my point. Like for example, besides maybe Rookie and Akali will do better than Jensen and Akali when he's fed, you know. But I don't know. That's like a side note, you know. Like maybe that game the Shy and Rookie will carry, but that's like game 1 and 3 were for sure lost, like in draft. Like they were like unplayable for Team Liquid.
No, funnily enough, that final was actually like the experience of playing AD carry and solo queue, and you have one of those games where you're just having like a really boring normal bot lane. And like, one person has 1 kill, and then all of a sudden, like they do their like surrender, and you're like, "What the? Oh, that was I didn't got the game. I didn't started. What the fuck? Like I went through like 18 minutes. I haven't even got to play. It's like that's what that final was like. Where's the games?
I mean, it's true, but it's also like from bot lane was kind of fun because there was a lot of fights around bot lane every game. Like first game, we were like 7-0 from bot jungle only. We were like really ahead, and then game 2. Like Mickey hit a sick hook, like level 3 or something, level 2 on W, I think.
That should never.
And then we got a kill there. So like it's like every game their bot lane and level 3, like their bot lane was pushing the lane against Jarvan, when like, and they just pushed the lane and they got level 2 ganked. And even that game they're fucked, you know. We can just proxy them, we can do whatever the fuck they want, and it's just like it was so I felt like the bot lane was just so unplayable for them that it should like not happen, you know. I don't know, it should not be that bad. So that's just bad draft, I think. Like I don't know, you know. I'm still not sure because I'm still not trying to learn about this role and stuff, but it was just too unplayable for them, I feel like.
Do you actually think, because you know, like I don't know how they do the setup at MSI, but at most esports events I've been to, I'm just going to give everyone a spoiler here who's like a pleb who doesn't know what it's like behind the scenes. Most of the times before you go on stage for a big stage match, both teams are stood basically next to each other, usually behind stage. And, you know, some stage manager's telling you, like, you know, you're going to go out first, this team, and then this team's going to go out here and, you know, wait for the music and the cue and all that stuff. So in theory, sometimes before you play a big match, sometimes you can literally just talk to the guy you're going to play. Like sometimes it's fun, you know, sometimes people don't talk because they're super serious, you know, sometimes people say some banter or something, you know, if they know each other, right? Was there anything like that before this final? Like, did you see the TL guys before you went out on stage or anything? Did you see what they looked like?
I didn't really see them because we were like on different sides this time around. It was like we were not next to each other, so I didn't really. Yeah, I mean, I saw them for like a couple of seconds on the scan, but it's like we didn't really like exchange too many words because it's like it's finals, right? So it's like I guess everyone took it like a little bit more serious than usually because there was like a little banter in like in the group stages. But yeah, I think. Yeah, there was not any banter this time.
Do you think that for the final, like the pressure was on? Do you think they looked shook? Like they looked a bit like they were just not in the games?
I don't know. I don't really think so, right? I feel like, as I mentioned, I feel like we I really think we played maybe right, because like maybe they just played worse. But I feel like our draft and our preparation and our in-game execution was just like, we read kind of what was going to happen in game before they even did it. We kind of knew what they were going to do just because of watching them play, and also again our drafts. I know I talk a lot about drafts, but it's like this tournament was like, drafts are so important, right? Like getting a good draft is like, yeah, and that's where we get the most edge as well, I feel like.
It's not even just getting a good one. I would say for this tournament, it's that if you got a bad draft, you were like almost dead immediately. Like that's half the problem. People who did a draft,
we had Vayne top one game, right? Exactly. Like we had Vayne top, and we got 3 kills in our jungle early game, and we could not play the game. So that's like, usually if you get 3 kills in a jungle early game, like enemy team can't play the game, But that's like an example of a really bad draft, 3 kills and can't play. That's just FF, yeah. So,
like, since Caps told us this story on the last episode, I want to get your take on it, because one part we didn't get to ask about. So Caps told this story of what happened on the Game 3 draft, the one you were talking about earlier, where you gave Silas to Faker. Like, for anyone who isn't aware, that is like, if you are really good as a mid lane, that's a fucking really good champion right now in the current meta. Like, you gave Silas to Faker, and then the logic was like, it's okay, we can counter that. And then later on the draft, it was like, actually, Caps is like, actually, we don't have anything to count on that. Like, there's no pick. Like, what the fuck is Grabs doing in moments like that? Like,
okay. I mean,
like, what do you do when you look around? Like,
okay, I think that might be like Caps turning his brain off or something, because I knew we were gonna play Azir. Like, as soon as we gave Silas away, like I knew we are picking Azir. I mean,
wait, Caps doesn't even know his own picks.
Because that's what we did. Like, that's what we did in scrims. That's what we did in scrims. And granted, our Azir is not the highest minute. not the highest minute, but that's what we did in scrims. So I knew. So I prepared mentally. Okay, this game we have Azir on our team. It's fine. We can still win. We have Azir on our team, but I believe in him. We can win. And then we lost. And then, never again having Azir.
Imagine that, Perkz. Imagine being a brand new AD carry on a team called G2, and then there's some Azir just fucking up all the games from mid lane. You're like, why is he even picking that? He can't even play it. Can you imagine?
He's Azir.
It's such a bad spot to be in, wasn't it?
I know the Azir. The Azir. My Azir is bad, so I can't talk.
Yes, that was the reference. Exactly. Well done. So, whatever. Just took you back a little bit in time there.
Duncan, enough MSI. Did you get to check Perkz' tier list that he did? He did tier list for all 5 roles.
I saw some of it. I'll find it though. It was wacky. Certainly, we can discuss this.
So, one thing I was curious about is, I mean, you jokingly put yourself on like the top lane S tier, jungle S tier, support S tier. You switched to AD carry, and you've been madly. You're serious about it.
I was joking. He's a joke. He's a joke.
Sure. I mean, you had a very successful role swap to AD carry. Honestly, though, if you role swap to top lane, jungle, or support, do you think like you can have the same kind of success?
I mean, I don't know. I like to believe that I would. At least, I mean, it's also like, it's important to take the context as well, because I feel like for AD, honestly, I feel like it's the most I could get on any role, because I actually like, I think mages both are really OP. I just to get it straight, I think it's really OP, and I also
especially
think
if the other person can't play them, so they have no choice. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the fact that people say it's like, sometimes I read it's our meta or something, I think it's like far away from meta. If it was like last summer split, or even it was like some more AD champions, I mean, like right now there is Aatrox who is OP, like suddenly in solo, right? So even Aatrox being added as an AD champion in top set already like makes playing against us 2 times as hard as before the MSI, just because that I can actually pick whatever I want now, that I have one more AD champ like at top set, that's strong, And back to the point of other roles, well, I don't really know, right? Because I haven't tried, and I do think I can play pro at every role, just to make sure. Like, I actually think I can play LCS level, LEC level at any role, but that just comes from an experience and amount of games I already played in the last 4 years already, right? So it's but to be like as successful or something, then I would have to like get carried, like at least a little bit, like I would have to like, let's say if I go jungle, get another really, really good AD, like I can't like go top jungle or something and then get like a player who's like average, then I would be like, I'll probably not be able to carry them, right? I feel like for AD, it's the closest to Milan than any other role. just because you're still at carry mindset, like you still get the most farm, and you still get like you still have the macro to control the game. To not at the same extent as Midland, because for Midland, when you're playing like assassins or something, you get a lot of agency in the game of what do you actually want to do. Do you want to flank? Do you want to one-shot someone? Do you want to like you can like do a lot of more stuff than AD, but as AD you still have some kind of control of like pushing waves, doing what you're supposed to do. You also, something I realized is like I can just use my teammates more than by me doing something rather than like me calling them, you know, because my role is a bit different. And something that Mitty helped me with actually, because Mitty said, yeah, when I played against Double Lift, it's like I can feel that he's pulling the strings, you know, the way he plays, you know. And I was like, okay, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that pulls the strings, you know. I want to call my jungle and support bot all the time, and I do it, you know, because I like to have people around me. So it's just different than Midland, but it's still the most close role to Midland, I would say.
I'm surprised you didn't say top lane would be your second best role, because it shares so many champions and it's also a solo lane.
Well, yeah, I think top lane. I mean, right now there's like a lot of champions. They're like Midland and top same, right? But like there's like a lot of champions that are not, you know, like Fiora or Camille and those champions. Like I've never played, you know, so I would like.
And you never played some of the AD carry champions either.
Yeah, but
no,
AD
he used to
like,
play them on the side on solo queue, right? I used
but
to
it's like I used to play, yeah, but it's also like AD is like a lot more simpler. How to explain? Like for top and mid champs, you have to know how to use your skills and how to like trade and stuff. But AD is like a lot about positioning and knowing what enemy champions do. Rather than you doing something yourself, you're always thinking about how are you gonna let them outplay themselves. Like I just think about how do I not die and let them outplay themselves, you know? And that's how it happens. Like that you make outplays in it, you know? You just like think about more steps in it, yeah.
I just enjoy Locodoco, like actually, like it's the way the look on his face, like he's actually taking notes. Like, yeah, what else do I do as AD carry? Like, wait a minute, I can let them outplay themselves.
AD carry the reactive role. Wait, you don't think I know AD carries the reactive role? Anyways, do you have the tier list pulled up, Duncan?
Mate, there was some bonkers. The problem here is this. First of all, half of this tier list is trolling, because like when he puts like fucking Yankos Brown as like S tier, he's obviously just trolling on those ones. The problem I have is I think that some of the serious ones are bonkers on here. Like,
let's go.
I don't know in what fucking universe you think that, for example, like you have Tussin, the support player of Kingzone, you have him A+ tier behind literally, like even taking out the meme ones, there's about like 7 people ahead of him here. What, better than Tussin from Kingzone? It's fucking amazing, mate.
I mean, he's really good. I mean, I haven't really watched. Okay, so some of them are like not really like up. Like that's why it's half troll, half real, because I haven't really followed all the teams and all the players, you know. So I just put them based on like mix in my mind of their like ending, and when I remember them last time, and when I remember last time Tussin at Worlds, he was
Worlds, he made
slumping, like he was slumping, he was slumping, right?
Agreed.
But this split has been better, so I just put him still high. I mean, I don't know how high I put him, you know, but I still think he's a good player, right? I just put him behind the MSI supports, I guess. Like,
also, by the way, even though again this might be a meme, like fuck you for even putting Sneaky anywhere on this list whatsoever. Like, there's literally like 10 people in China.
He did top 3.
Sneaky. Like,
he did top 3 players from.
No, I did. Okay. Yeah. So I did like top 3 teams, but then for some regions, like my stream existed and like putting this. Yeah.
So you had to put him on. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Because I'm not even hitting on Sneaky there. I just think people aren't aware like how many good Asian AD carries are. There's a lot. There's some fucking good ones, boys.
Damn. Poor Sneaky didn't even go to MSI. Gets randomly shit on by EU players. Didn't even play a single game.
Yeah, that's actually.
I mean, how's he gonna complain? He's the fucking NA Perkz. He just chills there and lets the fucking other laners carry him as well. His problem is his fucking the people whose back he was on weren't strong enough. Perkz has the strongest guys in Europe.
It's true, yeah.
Like he said, he likes to just have people around him. It's like someone do a fucking remake of the short Entourage with Perkz. And at the beginning, he just like calls everyone up on the Skype group, like, hey, come on down, man, it'll be a party. Shit, you can play mid lane, whatever, man. And then he's just rocking up as like AD carry, but everyone else is like the henchmen, like all those guys, the bodyguards.
I mean, it's pretty accurate. I don't know what else to say. I just pick the players that can carry me, and then I just...
I've got a question for you. because a lot of people haven't thought this one through, Perkz. Like, cause I love like narratives and storylines and where things connect to the past. I always try to think in advance, like, what are the next narratives that are coming? And the one that everyone's missed, mate, is if Forgiven comes back, everyone is trying to use the old narrative, aren't they? Like, oh, but what happens if he plays Reckless again? It's like, that's actually an old narrative now. Like, that's not even that great a storyline. The real storyline, Perkz, is Forgiven already half hates you for what happened when he was in fucking OG, and you're now an AD carry player. Like, dude, you do realize if he ever gets into the LEC, I don't even care if your top lane is better. Like, you better in that game 100% win lane in CS. That is the only thing that you can do, because he's going to talk so much shit, even if he loses the game.
I would love to play against Forgiven. I think it's like actually kind of like my dream. Not really a dream, but like it would be really hype for the scene. I think in general, if Forgiven comes back to LEC, it's really hype because then it like adds one very big personality in this, and it just makes the league more hype and more interesting. So it would be really great if Forgiven came back. And I still think like he's a good player. He'll probably not be like the best or anything like that, but he will still be good enough to play. So that's like what it matters, I think he
also just think of the theme. It's even perfect, Perkz, because you stole the whole Lane Kingdom thing.
You're
gonna be playing against him in the Lane Kingdom.
I would just use hashtag Lane Kingdom, after the game.
That would be legit, exactly.
Players that you put really highly that I was kind of surprised by were Bjergsen, Mitty, and Zeben. I'm guessing like you still have a lot of respect for Mitty and Zeben from OG days. Or not OG, oh my bad, G2 days when you guys were all on the same team. Because
they were in OG as well, but I remember he stole them first. Like, they were the first people he stole. And then, there's many others since then.
It's true. Like I said it myself. I got them first. They were the first ones to carry me. that was the first narrative, yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know how high. I mean, I think I put them pretty reasonably high. No, like for example, for reasoning for Mitty is that I've played against him a lot this split. And I did not feel like international supports were better than him. I did not feel like someone who had played internationally is better than him. If anything, I felt like he was better than most of the supports I played against. Same with like Hylissang, that's why I put Hylissang really high. Like when I play against Hylissang in solo queue, or like one game I played against him on stage, he was really smurfing. One game he was really into, but it was like in the early split. So in general, I just feel like EU top supports are really good, and people like are really sleeping on them because people live in the era where everyone thinks, Korean supports are so fucking good, they're the best, which it was true like 2-3 years ago. They were like so much better than anyone else, and it was not even playable. But right now, I do not feel like Korean supports are better than European supports, and this like I wanted to like shut down this narrative where, I do think they have more good support players because EU doesn't have that many of them. But EU top supports, I would go as far as saying they're better than the Korean ones. So
What about
especially like in this meta, where it's like a lot about fighting and mechanics.
You're just going to take that, Loco. You're just fine with that statement, are you?
The EU supports being better than Korean? I mean, I was shocked that he put Hylissang in like his S+ tier or the highest tier. He had Hylissang in two different places when Hylissang is playing well, when he isn't playing well, and the sample size is small. And also, Reckless isn't a very lane-dominant AD carry, so it's really hard for me to judge Hylissang, so I can take Perkz' word on it. And Korean supports, like, who are the best Korean supports nowadays? Lehond, Mata, Tusen. Yeah. So, it's not as strong as it used to be.
And they're good, but they're like, it just doesn't, they're just, I just don't think they're better than the other one. If anything, I feel like the Chinese supports are pretty good, like in general, when I see them play. But they're just different metas as well, right? So the Korean supports are used to like thinking about the vision and stuff, but right now also there's a lot more fighting and just thinking about how to fight and how to execute a fight really good, rather than just like how do you plan the whole game ahead. And that's like what is the difference. So
isn't that what Mitty is more of? Isn't Mitty more of a Korean support in that sense, where he's more of a shot caller?
I think that people like really like also they have the wrong narrative about Mitty, whereas like he has how people say he has a bad mechanics and he's a shot caller, right? That's what people think. How I see it, that's how we got into. That's how everyone talks about him, but that's not true. Like I think he's smart in game, but he's not a shot caller. He makes a lot of wrong calls as well. So he is a lot about talking to his teammates. He knows how to be a good player in game, and that's why he's very good. And even when he was playing with me in Season 7, I felt like his mechanics were actually really good. I thought he was really good mechanically, and people who were like he had some moments, you know, but everyone has his moments, you know. And I felt like meeting mechanics were actually pretty good. And when we were playing before the Ardent became like meta completely, like we were playing a lot of like melee supports, right? It was the meta before Ardent, like at Worlds, and we were like winning most of our scrims. And like Mitty was smurfing so hard, and like Trick and Mitty were like camping my lane so hard. It was like I was always calling the mid, and Zen would like always be like 1v2ing, you know. And it was like the OG healer thing, you know. But he was like he was not playing Pyke, he was playing Alistar back then, and he was just like I remember he was like running mid level 2 and stuff, you know, just like letting bot bounce and just walking mid level 2. I'll be like, yeah, come, you can kill, you know, and we kill, you know. And it's like oh, great, you know. And then like somewhere like halfway into the tournament, or like not halfway into the tournament, into bootcamp, or like even like a couple days before the bootcamp ends, we're like, yeah, guys, Ardent is fucking OP. We should play Ardent. And then we also figured that maybe we could play the thing that Mrs. played, right? The Ardent in the Ardent jungle, and then like tank support. And we were doing that, and we had like success again. And then we do it one game on stage, we lose, and we're like, oh, it's fucking bad. Never do it again, you know? Like the worst possible mindset ever. Like some of the things that we were a really good team, but some of the things that we had like planted inside of us on the team was like so bad. It was like not good for growth or like for in general just winning. So yeah.
What did you say there? I was confused earlier. I don't know if it was the wording. You said he's not a shot caller?
No, I mean, he's like, people have also like wrong narrative of shot caller. Like he doesn't tell everyone what to do, where to go.
Sure.
He talks smart in game, like he talks what he's supposed to do, but he's not like I don't know how people see Mata, you know, oh, you go this, you do this, you know, like
sure.
that's not who he was for us back then, you know. That's not what maybe he's now, or maybe he was in TSM. I have no idea, right? Maybe they needed it. I mean, they for sure did.
I mean, people say on your teams, like when you were mid, you were doing a lot of the shot calling, right? So are you just the most vocal voice when you were the mid laner?
When I was the mid laner, I mean, I think that probably, yeah. I think mid lane has to be, I mean, in my opinion, like mid lane should be the most like vocal one after like early game, like where it should be jungler, you know, but it should be everyone talking as well. Like everyone should say whatever they think they need to say. Whereas like just from mid lane, the whole point of mid lane is like you're center of the map. So you have the power to control the map, if that makes sense. Like if you're stronger, you choose to go bot and you like tell your top laner care top, you know, play safe top, or like you put a ping ward for top laner before going bot side, or you do like vice versa, you do it like on bot side, you know, and you just like communicate with others, you know. That's like point of like mid jungle, you know. Mid jungle can, and then everyone else should like chip in on their plans, you know. Okay, if they say, okay, I'm going bot side on, then we're like, okay, I will ward top, you know, I will play safe top, you know, or something. And you chip in like, okay, I have TP, yeah, I don't have TP, you know. So I just always thought as a mid laner, or like, I didn't really find ways to like, I couldn't really find ways to improve more and more as like on a much higher level individually than just keeping up with the champions in the meta. So I was just looking other ways to improve, right? Whereas like, I was just looking at minimap the whole time, like minion waves and stuff, making sure that our macro is right. Like especially like I remember throughout the gauntlet and worlds, like I was really looking at minion waves just to make sure that every minion wave is getting pushed that needs to be pushed. And also, yeah, just in general, being more aware of the map, like summoners and stuff, like just trying to include myself in every play. And I felt like I was really good at that because I was so comfortable in playing mid that I could do all the extra stuff that I could not do on bottom at the first weeks at least. And now I feel like I'm getting like more comfortable in bottom as well. Especially the game I played Syndra against SKT, but again I was playing mage, so I felt really comfortable. Right, you guys have no idea how comfortable I felt. Like I was actually really sure we could not lose the game just because I was playing Syndra, because I could really see the whole map and the whole game, how it should be seen, if that makes sense, you know. But when I'm playing AD, sometimes like I'm focusing on like on catching my access or like not missing a CS, you know, all these like small things that like people, because I say AD carry is easy role, you know, and it's easy to stop, blah blah memes, but it's like not that easy, you know, like it's still like hard to play. Like there's a reason why like it's not easy to play, you know. Like I don't want people to have a misconception where like AD carry is easy to play, you know, because it's not easy to play. Like it requires me a lot of focus to actually like to have a really.
It's like you said before. The best way to say it is it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. As in the things you do, they're obvious, but you still have to do them very well.
It's very linear.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to be kind of like how I would describe Sven, like a perfectionist. You know, Sven is a perfectionist, and that's how I wanted to kind of be as an AD, where like I want to be a perfectionist. I want to get like every CS. You know, I want to do this and this and this. You know, but then I kind of like also figured that I should be like more of myself and do whatever I feel like is the best for the game. And that's something, I mean, I'm still learning every I guess every week, I'm learning how to improve in my new role. I'm learning how, I'm thinking like, what can I do to make this better or this better, And it's also the whole big part is like playing with your support as well. I think that's the biggest difference from mid to bot.
Yeah. Thing is, he's right, Loco, because Sven is such a perfectionist that he's always trying to test his limits and see what's possible. Like, he's trying to see, can an AD carry just roam through the fog of war, topside rush in the middle of a game 5? Turns out no, but we wouldn't know that if it wasn't for him, would we? He's trying to perfect everything he does. You know what? The next time he does that, Loco, I bet he fucking nails it. I bet the next time amazingly. So there we go. There's the old classic alley into slam. And
Perkz, you also had Sven rated very highly on your tier list. What's your thoughts on Sven more specifically?
Oh,
he's an ex-teammate, mate. Come on. What do you think he's going to do? Say he's shit and not put him on the list?
No, I think he's a good player, like, right? Because I played with him for a long time, and he was always very reliable and very consistent in what he was doing. And in general, I mean, when I played with him, I always thought like he was the best. He can be the best AD, right? He can win with him, And then I didn't really feel like everyone else, like, and also he had really good. I really liked his like mindset towards like improving and just like being the best, and he was really putting a lot of effort. I felt like, and that's not really how I felt from everyone else back then, Sure. So, and also he believed that we could win. So I just really like Sven and like his like approach to the game and just his dedication. So,
what do you think about him without Mithy, though? Because now we've seen him play a whole split with no Mithy alongside him. What do you think he's like as a player without him? Like, I mean, you got to see the two of them together on a daily basis. So what was their partnership like, do you think?
Well, I do think that they were both covering for each other in like some ways, whereas like they were not. Yeah, I think honestly them splitting up is good for them because it can't be healthy for them to like play together for so long, like experiencing playing with like, because for me, for example, I can just talk for myself, like for me playing with like different rosters, like 2017, 2018, and now 2018 to this year is like, it's just such a mind-opening experience, right? It's like so different, and I can only imagine how it is like when you play with one guy for like 3 years and then you have to play with someone else, So right. I definitely think that sure. Like for the growth of player and individual, it's better for them to split up. And I do think because I watched them play. I watched TSN, I watched Origin, right? And I think both of them are playing pretty good. Like it's both Zen and Mitty. Obviously, they're making mistakes that they wouldn't be making if they were maybe playing with each other or maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they would. I have no idea, right? But yeah, I definitely think he's been playing. I mean, him and Doubles were the best ADs in NA. Like who else is even there? Like there is no one really who can contest.
As you said, like Sneaky is like the next one. Doubles event.
Yeah. Funny thing is, when he says that, like, I know what he means by that choice of words, like mind open, like, you think of different possibilities. But that does, like, obviously what's hilarious is, like, the team now is doing so much ridiculous shit. It just makes Caps sound completely ridiculous. He must be, like, adding, like, LSD to the fucking team or something. Because he's like, oh, shit, anything's possible. There are no limits. Wait a minute, hey, man, if we're all one, then we can all play every fucking champion, man. It's like, he's gone full, like, hippie mode all the way out there.
Let's talk LEC a bit. There's some roster changes, and one I wanted to ask you about was Excel. So Excel recently picked up Mickey and your former teammate Yarnan. I think they're four.
Mickey?
Yeah.
Mickey, are you going to Excel?
No. They picked up Mickey from Korea, the Golden Guardians Mickey.
Oh, the old Team Liquid mid.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
And then
the Rebels Anarchy mid, yeah.
And they also picked up Yarnan, and I think their top is Expect, and then their jungle is Cadral, yeah. And support Kasing. How do you think they'll do?
I have no idea. Honestly, I think people should stop importing. First of all,
oof.
That's my thing. I think
exactly. The problem is if you import players, next thing you know, some 15-year-old kid is getting carried through the fucking mid lane in his first split. He doesn't even have to play a proper game. The jungler's just there every time. They get the MVP award. That's what happens if you actually bring in imports. Whereas if you had to play with the real, that was a joke about Perkz' first split in the LCS. There, do you not get that one? When people used to think Trick was like the best. I don't know about that one. Anyway, what you don't think. I mean, for example, you look at some of the other teams in EU, like Misfits obviously went big time with some of the imports. You don't think like EU teams should bother importing?
No. I mean, okay, depends. If you really can't find like someone who is like good enough, then you should try to import like a high tier Korean player. That kind of made sense for Misfits in a way. I don't know if they could get or not, But if I was Excel, I would never import a guy who is known to be tilting or alt-F4ing screens or whatever. I don't know. There was something on Reddit about it. I don't know. The guy who doesn't really have any results in his whole career, and he's been playing for so long already, for over a European talent. That just doesn't make sense for me, right? Like even like getting like a random, I would rather get a random solo queue mid laner, and just like try to make him good than getting this guy. That's my thoughts, But maybe he's really good, and maybe I'm just like maybe someone scouted him. I mean, I have no idea, right? Maybe players change, so players can become very good in a short period of time if they actually really try to. So maybe he's one of those guys who is just really good now when he comes to Europe. My bet is not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one either. Like the problem with that move as well is like if I had to guess, Loco, if you look at the team he's joined, it's not like the biggest team. Obviously, it's one of the newer teams to LEC, like one of the ones that wasn't even very good last split. I would imagine Mickey doesn't have a very high market value, so it's probably quite a cheap gamble to take, thinking, fuck it, try it for the summer split. Because the problem is, if you have money to spend, it doesn't make any sense to get an import player. Look at all those mids that we just got to see play EU Masters, like any of them would be worth a try. There's quite a few players out there who are like sub mid laners that are good in Europe. Like of all the positions you're going to import, you're not going to import EU mid, are you? Like you're just going to get a player who's there. What was the point in getting a Korean mid laner in an EU team?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would just get
that would be like importing an NA top laner. Why would you fucking do it? I mean, I apologize. If you're in the Japanese league, maybe consider importing a NA top laner. I guess there are always exceptions, right? There's always exceptions.
What about Yarnan? Yarnan's like the big question mark for me because I don't think I ever got the correct grasp on Yarnan. I didn't watch that much of Europe, and then he did well at Worlds with Heimerdinger, but who is he as an AD carry, and like what can we expect from Yarnan?
Well, I think he's a good player. I just think he has like some champion pool issues that he had when he was playing with us, right? But other than that, like he's just he's a very good teammate as well, and just a good player on like his comfort champions, but doesn't really, as I said, play too many champions. So if he can like fix that, then he can be really good. I mean, yeah, I don't really have too much to say. I think he's good.
Duncan, your thoughts?
Yarnan is reckless if he wasn't quite as good looking and actually had to play that way. Like he didn't even have a choice. The difference of reckless, his ultimate crime and his sin is that he could play differently. He could play like a man, could play like a fucking beast, take over the whole league, but he doesn't. He just lets himself get carried. So the thing with Yarnan is if you have a really good mid and top, I think he's a pretty decent player to have on a team. He's going to do pretty well as like the third threat player and just play out his lane. But like if it was like an ADC meta, I personally wouldn't want him as my bot laner, but he's an okay player. I think he should be an LEC, put it that way. I think he was definitely LEC quality, but I thought he's just a player where he'll go based on the strength of the team he's on. If he's in a bad team, he's not going to carry them and be the MVP. If he's on a really good team, he's just going to be an okay player. Don't really have much hatred for him or anything. He's just all right. That was also just a way to slam Reckless for no reason, even though it wasn't even referenced. So
what's your
got to keep my quota up, People don't know that, you see. Everyone always cries like, "Oh, you're always bringing up TSM and being mean to them." I'm mean as fuck to Reckless. He's not even from NA. He's actually from
Why do you hate Reckless? He's one of like the historical legendary European.
I don't hate anyone, do I? What I don't like, Loco, is people who get mad overrated. Like you can't tell me a player who's like the third best on his team is like the best in his role, and yet you're not saying they're a super team. Like that doesn't even make sense. So like the problem with Reckless is the actual periods when he was at his best wasn't actually when Fnatic were the best team. Like when he looked super sick was actually the hard times when they had all the rotating supports coming through and they were still looking for they just got caps. He was so fresh. He wasn't ready to be a star. These were the times when Reckless was a fucking beast. So in those years, I was a fan of his actually. I thought he was pretty cool. In the other years, who gives a fuck? He's been I won't go, this is hyperbole, obviously. It's not as bad as this. But when he was at his peak in the old Fnatic with Expeke and Soaz, he was the fucking Looper of that team, to give the Samsung White analogy. He gets the championship. Well, guess what? Promiscu gets a fucking medal as well, didn't he? I wouldn't make him like the best support in Europe just because he got to get a thing. The question is, did you earn it? So whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. He can't say shit. He's only played one split as a fucking AD carry, and like we said, he's got sick top and mid, so he has to just take it all, didn't he? And be like,
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
Reckless is a
I
good player.
actually, I actually think
Respect
Reckless.
his work
I actually
ethic.
think, yeah, no, I actually think Reckless is really good though. Like, I mean,
Of course.
yeah, obviously, I think he's really good, right? Because
Well, you know what? I'd love to go back in time and give you, when you had Expect as your top laner, Reckless as your AD carry, and let's see how you fucking do. I'd love to see that play out, mate. Because at the end of that year, when you're like, Thorin, my fucking back's broken, I'll be like, yeah, I bet it is. Should we actually get a proper AD carry in here?
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm worse than him or something. I'm obviously better, right? But I just still think he's good, you know. So not have to flame a man like that, you know.
No, you don't have to flame him.
Like he played really, like, I mean, just if you look at the last 2 years, like 2017, 2018, has really been like his kind of like resurrection as a player, I would say, because like 2015, 16, he was what you kind of said. That's how I feel like, you know, he was the guy who was just gonna get carried or not do anything, but he really like did step up the last 2 years, you know, and even like I think the biggest misconception with Reckless is like that he's a passive player or he's a player. Yeah, just a passive player. Let's say he's a passive player. No, he's not a passive player. That's not true, you know. There's like, I know it's like a up to quote, but it's actually true. There's no passive or aggressive player, just good or bad ones. And Reckless is not passive on his champions he plays well, like Sivir, Tristana, and Zaya, and those champs. Like he plays them well and he plays them aggressive, and he's not a bad at all in them. The problem that people say he's a passive player is because he doesn't play those champions that are supposed to win lane. Like let's say Draven, Varus, Lucian. Okay, he does play Lucian, but his Lucian minion is like pretty bad, right? So he's like not as good and not as proficient on those champions as he is on the other champions, and that's why people call him passive. But that's not true. He's just not good on some champions, and he's just very, very good on some other champions. And that's the biggest misconception public has about Reckless, you know? Because when he was playing like Tristana or something, he would be winning lanes against low champions that are like not supposed to be winning lanes, you know? And he plays really well on them, but he just doesn't play all of them, and that's the problem with Reckless, you know? That's why they would never do good at this. Like if let's say if Cup stayed in Fnatic, you know, they won and they would go to this MSI. I would not see Fnatic like winning the MSI with the bottom, because that's not how they play. So.
Oh, one thing you mentioned earlier was how good mage champions are, but in bot lane, but you barely played them at MSI. That one Syndra game, I don't think you played any other mage champ. I mean, maybe Sona. Is it because you guys didn't play 80 champions topside, or is there a specific reason why we didn't see so much mage champion from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the reason, right? I mean, in general, also, like, I feel, I don't really care if I play, I mean, I do, but not really, I don't really mind if I play major AD, because I just felt I will play whatever is the best, right? And I played Nico one game and Syndra one game. That's the only thing I played. And the Nico game, we had such a bad draft, and I kind of took it on me as well, because I picked Nico, so we needed some damage topside, and like we came with Vayne top. So I didn't want the situation, honestly, I didn't want the situation to happen ever again. So I was just thinking, if this is the case, I mean, like I know there's not much champions topside, you know, much AD champions, because even the top players are like Kennen, Vladimir, Nico can go AD, but like AP, a lot of AP Nico. What else is there? Like Ryze, you know, Akali, Sylas, like all the champions are AP, right? So I kind of knew that it's hard to get AD champs. And then we had the Pyke, right? So I thought that in a game where, honestly, if we didn't go 5 games, I would maybe not even play a major against XQD, you know? Because I just thought the game that is the most important should be decided by something that's gonna actually decide that we win. And that's why I played it. But yeah.
Oh, another thing actually that we should probably ask you about as well is, so one of the things that your team at this tournament did was run triple teleport quite a lot in a lot of the games. So you were running teleport on bot lane again, but technically you're as ADC. Like, what was the thinking behind why your team liked this so much?
I mean, it's just because of lanes in general. Like, it's not even because of like, it's just like mid lane has to take TP, because if enemy mid doesn't have TP, he's gonna lose lane. And it's kind of the same for bot. Like bot lane has to take TP, because if enemy bot lane has TP and you don't, you're gonna lose the lane. So in the lanes where it's like Tankage Brown lanes, where there's like not gonna be a lot of fighting 2v2, you always take TP because you want to be matching the pushing power and in general just like matching their TP. Whereas if you're playing, let's say, an all-in lane like Galio Kaisa or something else, you will stack your TP anyways and just go for the heal in case you do actually fight, right? So yeah, in a lot of games I was playing either against Ezreal or against Tankage or Brown, and then in these matchups I would always go TP. So yeah.
Okay.
Anything else you want to touch on, Duncan?
Let me think. Is there anything else interesting that's happened recently?
There's some roster changes for EU, but I don't think scrims have started, so we don't really even know if there's like. It's Trick actually went to Schalke. Misfits picked up Kire. I think those are like the only big ones that happened. Fnatic and OG didn't make any changes from what I heard. So
what do you think of that then? What do you think of Trick coming back to the LEC?
Trick coming back? Well, I think he's really good, right? I played with him for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
For 2 years, so it's like I kind of know him very well, and I also like I've been speaking to him, so he's like kind of tryharding. He's trying to win now. You know, I kind of triggered him and Mitty by winning MSI. Probably the Sven and X-Factor, right? They all get kind of triggered. So he now wants to beat me now. He wants to win against me, but he can try. It's gonna be very, very tough for him, but maybe he can do it, you know. So I wish Trick good luck. I think maybe he can make the difference for Schalke to make Worlds, you know. Like I believe he maybe can. But yeah.
I mean, Schalke looked so good earlier in the split last year, and then they just fell apart so hard, and I felt like their mid and jungle were really problematic. So I'm excited about Trick. It cannot be as bad as last year. Or not last year, last split, my bad.
Well, he was kind of, I'm honestly like, he was kind of I feel like he was, you know, like going to barbecue. And in general, just like Korea not really being what he expected to be, you know. And being stuck in Turkey, you know, it just kind of like sucks for players. I can't even imagine it, for example, myself, you know, for player career to like go so like downwards after being like, honestly, he didn't deserve it, you know, like he was like really, I think now when he joins LEC, I would think now he's like top tier jungler, you know. I mean, I would go far as second even. Like, I mean, I think Jankos is like the best, but I played with Trick for so long. And when I see other junglers play, like I really think that Trick is like much better than them, you know. And that's probably the weakest role of Europe anyways, is the junglers, right?
Jungle. So, what is it? After Jankos, it's like what? Cold, Broxa.
No. There's definitely no Broxa in the top three.
Self-made.
Shut the fuck up right now. Self-made, definitely, but Broxa.
I was just going team by team.
I think self-made is good, for example. I think self-made is self-made is the new jungle talent. And same with like, I mean, I don't know, but maybe the new guy, what's his name? Rogue jungler. Inspired?
Oh, yes.
Maybe he's gonna be good too. Like I feel like there's like some talent that can be like potential, they can surprise, you know. Sure. But we will see. Like I don't know. It's hard to judge from just like solo queue and stuff. So yeah, but it's Polish junglers, yeah.
Oh,
the Polish junglers, man.
What the fuck is Umazan or Umayan? Like everyone kept spamming it.
Just his name in solo queue or some shit.
Honestly, it's just a random name. I found a random name generated, but. And then it's not what it like means. It's what it represents. You know, Umayan is like, it's a new generation of AD carries. There is no more farming for late game. The game starts at level 1. There is no more positioning in the backline. AD carries on frontline now. There is just it's a whole revolution. It's a revolution coming up the bottom right now. People don't realize it, but yeah, it's a revolution there.
Try to get Reckless on it so Doran can be a little bit happier about it. Is there other AD carries?
I mean, I don't think I really need to get Reckless on the train of AD carries doing nothing and getting carried by the top lane in the middle. I don't know if you were listening to the conversation. Like he invented that style. It's just that everyone else caught up. Maybe he secretly has a friend at Riot who just coded the game or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Who are like the other AD carries that you feel like play the lane the right way, play AD carry the right way? Because we talk so much about Reckless, Double Lift, Teddy, like them all playing lane a little bit differently from what you think should be played, approaching the game differently.
Well, I mean, I definitely think if you're gonna, like, I still think that those players are very good because people always say how, I mean, people always think that I'm trash talking them, you know, too much, but it's just like they don't take risks because that's how they're used to, and I take risks because that's how I'm used to, right? That's what I learned, and the difference is that I'm at some point gonna be able to actually like maximize this risk at such a low percentage that I'm not gonna be able to take any more risks. It's just gonna be a 100% play, and that's how my mid was kind of turning out to be towards the end as well. Is where I would just make the plays that I always knew were gonna work out, you know, and that's gonna be the same for AD at some point. I mean, that's what I like to. I mean, that's what I'm like striving for, right? And as for bot laners, I feel like I think Upset plays really well. I mean, it's hard.
What about that then? Because if you say that like there's a new way to play AD carry and like people have to update themselves, I mean, Upset and Patrick must be in a tough spot then because they're basically supposed to be the next talents of the old style of AD carry. Like you think of Upset, of course you want him in a team fight at the end of the game. That's where he's best, right? So are these guys do they have to change how they play? Do you think?
But I do think that they're like different than like the old style AD carry. Like Patrick also plays a lot of champions. And he was playing Draven, Kalista, Varus. He was playing those aggressive champions together with me. Like it was like honestly, it was like harder to. I mean, not harder, but like a bit more scary to draft against Origin botlane than against some international botlane, just because of the fact that they play stuff, right? And same, I feel like. I mean, I don't know about Upset, because their team sucked last split, right? They kind of, and he was also like, kind of just auto like focusing on Kai'Sa a lot like in the games. That's how I felt like he was just picking Kai'Sa a lot. And I think now is the time where we're actually gonna see if they're really good or not, like Schalke botlane together with Rick, because now there's like no really excuses, right? Now they're supposed to perform. That's what I think. Like if they're as good as they say they are, or they think they are, or I think Upset is really good. So if he's as good as I think he is, then he should be able to bring his team to a higher standard than they were last week, And we're gonna see if that happens, right, or not. So, but yeah, I still don't think that any of these players have anything in laning phase over me and Miki, or in general the way they approach lane. But it's also like, yeah, I'm very cocky and I'm very people just can't wait. People just wait to like beat me, because I'm just like that. I'm really cocky right now, so I need to get humbled down, So I'm gonna humble down at some point. That's fine, But anyways, yeah, I feel like I'm really, really good at it, so they can try.
Duncan, anything else you want to touch
Loco
on?
just agrees with everything you say. Like, yeah, any opinions you have, Perkz?
I mean, regarding it's him being cocky.
It's
him being cocky, and he also won MSI. Like, what the fuck am I gonna say? Like, it's
true,
he's on top of the world. Once if he actually loses, then I can challenge him on
listen to
thing.
any of this show? I literally told him to his face like 30 seconds into the show, like just because he got carried by top and mid, like don't start fucking acting like you're the best AD carry. He literally took it because he knew it was a pointless argument, and he's been rolling with it. He knew you'd be there to fucking give him a hot stone massage right afterwards and fucking win.
He played he played well in bot lane.
You want me to defend myself or what? Like,
well, I've got a question for you, because there's one thing, Perkz. Even if the laning stats looked good at MSI, you do have some moments where you still do, like your brain looks like you think you're playing mid lane. Like there's some fights I see you have where you just like go melee range. It looks like you think you're like playing a burst mid lane or something, and then you realize, oh shit, and you get caught.
I mean, I would definitely say that there is a very, very thin line between brilliance and int, and that's where my line somehow breaks as well. It's a small line between like giga smurfing or really running it down, right? And the fact that it's harder to optimize that as an AD carry, and maybe I should just sit in the backline and just don't die. But when I'm playing like scrims, solo queue, and sometimes stage games as well, I feel like I'm doing a lot more than other AD carries would do. I feel like I'm stepping up in the moments where no other AD carry would do it, and maybe some would, maybe some wouldn't, right? But I'm at least like I'm willing to push myself in that regard. I'm not really scared of dying, and at some point it's just gonna evolve me into a player that I'm gonna know exactly when I'm be able to be up or when I'm able to like not be up, right? And then it's just gonna be the next generation of AD carries, as I mentioned. But until then, it will look like like the game. I maybe you're gonna mention it, but the game I was playing Ezreal, there's also like some mindset problems, right? Like it's been such a huge shift in like mindset and knowing how to actually carry games from like mid lane, right? Because I still need people around me to do something. I need people around me. So in the game I was playing Ezreal against Flashfulls, I was like 3 items, and enemy carry had Blade and BF, and I had like Gunblade, Manemoon, and Seraphs or whatever. I don't know what I had. Blades? No, I don't know. I had 3 items on Ezreal. Anyways, I was really OP, and I dashed into mid, and I died to Orianna like outplay me, but it was like if I just like flashed away or if Mickey like flash hit me, like it will be we would just kill him and we would get the mid turret, you know, and we would open up the map, you know, and there is just kind of moments where either I misplay or my brain like blocks out how to play the game properly because I was not in this situation before. Like I was never in a situation on stage where I'm literally 2 items ahead of enemy AD. I didn't know I want to see my brain didn't know what to do. My brain was like exploding. I was like, what the fuck do I do now? Do I just dash in because I'm so fucking fed, you know, or do I not do it, or do I just like just go and play slow, you know? And I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna dash in, but I didn't think about it too much ahead. I didn't think about it too much ahead, so I ended up dying instead, you know. And the fact is, it's just like if I just waited like 1 second with my teammates to be there and call them, come guys, come mid, you know, I can just play like ape, and I would just carry the game alone in the next 30 seconds, you know. But I didn't do that, and my brain got lost. So as soon as I fixed all these like small things that happened, then you know, because then like after the game, like I remember like Mitty wrote to me actually on Facebook and he was like, you're doing great, you know, you just don't care about the small ins and stuff, you know. And I'm like, I mean, you're right, you know, I don't know how I'm 2 items up on this Lucian, you know, because I was thinking if I'm playing Lucian, I would probably be winning my lane, you know, and not losing lane to Ezreal Tam Kench. So there is less, like I have to like perfect some things, but it's not like it's that hard either, you know. Not dying is like it's easier part than like playing well to your limits. I think that's the harder part.
Okay.
And that's
2 things. One, the slogan, I'll rewrite it for you. This is the better slogan. There's a very small difference between brilliant and brilliant. There you go. There's the slogan. Put that on the wall somewhere at G2. And then the second one is this.
It's actually,
listen, sounds good that you're talking all this mad shit. You think you're so good. Like you're going to be so, you play all the champions. I pray to fucking Lord Flame himself that fucking at Worlds RNG goes and you guys have to play them in a full best of 5 series because you're going to get that beating that Uzi I's been prepared for Kianan for the last year. He probably won't even know that fucking Kianan's not there when he gets there. Where's that guy? What? Wadid's not even there anymore. It's like you're going to get that beating, mate. That's going to be brutal.
And that's actually something that I would really love, you know, because I hear all these players, all these AD carries talk about. Oh wow, Uzi and Ming, they're so insane, you know? And I think the reason why they are so insane is because they all think they're so insane. But in fact, they just there is no mid laner. I played, I mean, besides season 6, like Legends got season 6, that's how when I was boosted, you know? And then I didn't think that anyone was like insane. You know? I always thought I'm better than them, you know?
Not even Faker.
In season 7, I thought I'm better than him. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna win, you know? Otherwise, what's the point of playing if you're not better than someone, you know? So I want to play against Uzi and Ming. And I want to see how insane they are. And then if they're really good, then okay, then I pull out a mage. If they're not, then we just play the carries and we have a bit of fun, you know? So yeah, I think it's just bad. It's so bad to think, oh wow, someone is so good, can't beat against him. That's why, like, for example, Fnatic never won a game against RNG or what, because Records always says how good Uzi is, you know? And I don't care how good Uzi is, you know? He can come at me, but I'm not going to say he's good, you know? I'm not going to give him the confidence.
By the way, I definitely agree with that. Both Doublelift and Reckless have exactly that same problem. Like, they both, like, idolize fucking Uzi I and, like, Death, like, the sick players. Like, even the way they talk about it, it sounds like they think they lost the game before they even began.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, too. I mean, I'm not saying, like, it's fine after the game. If you lose, you agree. Yeah, he's better than me. Like, I do this, too, you know? If I lose a game, I'm like, yeah, he was better than me in this game, you know. Dracula was better. He was playing really well. Or, yeah, playing mid, I had to, like, suffer a lot of losses like last bit. You know, I'm like, okay, he was better than me. I have to find a way to win and be better than him, you know. And then for Gauntlet, we actually managed to win the Gauntlet after getting 0-3 in quarterfinals. So we found a way, like, we do find a way to be better than someone, you know. It's just like, it only matters on the day if you're better than someone or not, right? But if you go into the match already thinking that this guy is fucking insane, and you go thinking that, you're not gonna win. Like, that's all I'm saying, you know? You're not gonna win this match. And it's not good. Whoever you play, whoever you face, even if the guy is really fucking insane, it's better to be delusional and thinking you're better than him than going into match thinking, shit, he's better than me, let's just try to farm, you know? You can call it delusion or you can call it whatever, but the fact is that if you go into the match thinking you're better than someone, there's a very high chance of you winning the game. And yeah, I think that's something players have to change in general.
I think it's
so. Yeah, if Uzi plays against me, I'm better than him. We're gonna see, but I'll be better than him.
And there was a period of time where Koreans just dominated so much, so that mindset was just so heavily ingrained in everyone. But I do think the new generation of Western players, and especially with this year's result and last year's result, more people are gonna think like you, where everyone's beatable, and they are gonna stop putting players like Uzi, Deft, Faker on a pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to stop, right? It's also like, I mean, yeah, it's just go back again to Mitty, but like Mitty got really motivated because he was the one, like he told me, yeah, I went to NA because I thought we were never gonna win against the Koreans, you know. And right now, 2 years later, I'm winning against them on a different role, you know. And so everything is possible if you actually like kind of like put your mind to it, you know, and just believe you can do it. Otherwise, if you don't, then what's even the point of doing it, you know? So yeah.
Indeed.
All right.
Indeed. I think that's the end. This is the end of this episode of us and Loco. Loco lived up to the title, did a lot of listening, you know. The rest of us, we had a lot of discussion going on. We gave Perkz like a wide berth. We allowed him to just say he was better than about 700 AD carries that he objectively is. Whatever. As he said, it's important to be delusional. You've got to believe you can do it.
It's true, it's true. Like,
yeah,
I'm the best, you know, so...
No problem. Exactly. Okay.